Hello everyone, welcome back to the Red Special. Update, upgrade, refinish, all of the things that I've done have been pretty much cosmetic, some structural things, some fretwork, and now we're at the stage where all of those major things are done and we want to be looking to put it all back together again, and the parts that we've made, like the scratch plate, which has come out quite nicely. I didn't have a template for it, unfortunately, and planning it was a little bit difficult with how the existing plates were cut. I tried to use them as an example and just basically be a bit neater. My client Joe, he was just basically, he wanted it neatened up a bit. I didn't really need to even make a new scratch plate, but I wanted to because I knew it would turn out way better. And we're at the stage now where the really nice pickups are going to go in. We need to untangle everything and take everything out of the boxes where they've been stored for a few weeks. We also need to put the surrounds, the pickup surrounds on. Now what I've done is the existing tape was very worn away and really lacked stickiness. I was thinking to super glue these on, but I've decided to keep it simple with double-sided tape, and I just placed the pickup surrounds on the double-sided tape and cut out with a scalpel, really simple. And when I peel that back and attach it to the pick guard, these are coming for me, it's going to look the business, especially once we've got the pickups on. So far in the assembly we have the tremolo cavity cover on. I've also added some black tape here because the route was just so bad. I've just basically made it a straight line of sort of shadow, and I think it looks a bit slicker. We've also painted all of these monstrosity things happening in the cavity, like the Mod Podge welded in, however it was done. Dowels, giant dowels here that are all splitting and breaking. They've been painted black with shielding paint, guitar shielding paint. That basically will add and aid the shielding of the guitar, keep the noise down with the single coils. I need to run some more of the metal tape, the copper tape, to under the bridge to ground the strings. But other than that, everything's pretty much done. The frets are done, the fretboard is polished, the guitar is polished as well. There's just a little bit of, you see these white marks in the finish? It's quite hard to see in the light, but there are slight white marks where the grain shows through, because that's the kind of effect that I really like. So I let the grain show through, but the white marks in the grain aren't the effect that I want, and that's basically compound, and when you've wet sanded the wood, the sort of the slurry settles in the grain, and it needs to be flicked out with oil and a toothbrush. So we'll do that at some point soon as well. Actually, let's do that now, because it's probably the best time without all of the electronics hanging off of it. So we'll just get a regular guitar luthier's toothbrush and some vegetable oil. I learned this from a good friend, Fidelity Guitars, Matt at Fidelity. So you just get a drop of the oil, let me angle this more, onto the back of the guitar, and just work it in as much as you can. Kind of works with a slightly stiffer brush than this, I have to admit. This is kind of, I think it's been used for many many years. This used toothbrush that hangs around in my workshop. You know, I'm just a bloke. I'm like, well, that was my toothbrush. I like that toothbrush. Let's take it into the workshop and use it even more. I'm sure I cleaned it. You know, it's not got decaying bacteria all over it. Okay, anyway, enough of that. You can see it's working quite well, but there are still some really hard to reach areas where the compound and the slurry just won't be affected by the bristles. It's close though, so I might just leave it as is, to be honest. It's going to get dirt in it, it's going to get all sorts of things in it, and it's a guitar that's going to be played and enjoyed, so stuff like that, it's not the end of the world, but we will try to get as much out as we can. And then once you're at a stage where you're a bit more happy with it, you just wipe it down with a paper towel. Try and stay with the grain, because you know, rubbing it back into the grain and then it drying and then it being the same problem again is not really what you want. So try and stay with the grain. Yeah, sort of like keeps trying to scoop it out, sort of thing. And it's not clear coated in there, so it will come out eventually, but most of it's out. I feel like throwing a bucket of water on it, but that won't be good forward. And it's been quite a few weeks now. I mean, the time scale on this project was maybe a few weeks, but the problems that we ran into were way more intense than I thought that they would be. You know, the surprises that we found underneath the pick guards, the trem cover that I had to cut, that was already misshapen existing, so it was really hard to match this shape exactly, because it wasn't exactly the shape of a Floyd Rose or of a Strat. So I kind of, you know, muddled my way through. It looks pretty good. You're never going to see it. It'll be pressed up against you when you're playing. So in that sense, it's a drastic improvement. It improved the stability of the guitar, and it improves the look of the guitar for Joe, who didn't want any evidence of there being like a scratch plate or anything like that, because he's quite particular about things, and he wanted it as close to the Brian May guitar, the original one, as possible, but without going too far into like extreme details. You know, it's made out of mahogany, it's not made out of chipboard or whatever. So we're nearly there with the finish. Just give it a bit more of the attention that it deserves. Okay, I'm pretty happy. The front has a bit just down here. Bear with me. One of the other things that I've done to improve this guitar is sanded back and repolished the existing plastics, like the pickup surrounds and the trem cavity, and they do look a lot better because of it. I might have to I notice that's lifting a bit, which means it's a bit too far out. I might have to screw that in a bit more. I know that I did try to remove the tremolo before refinishing, but I just found it too frustrating to work out. I didn't know how to do it. I didn't have a book on how to work around in this guitar. Okay, we lost a screw there. Always pick up your screws immediately. There we go. Okay, so let's get the pickup surrounds on the pick guard. So in order to do that, I think it's a wise decision to place the pickups inside it first, just so you know everything's lining up all right. We did kind of have to make up our way around in this guitar. Okay, so one of the things that's different about most other guitars that are like 3 pickups and a scratch plate is that this screws directly into the wood. That's a rubbish camera angle. Sorry. 1 second. Oh, nearly lost the phone. You know me, straight to YouTube, no editing, all on my phone, no time for anything else. Okay, so the pickups have got a screw directly into the wood of the guitar. I don't know if that's how Brian did it, but that's how this one's been sort of wrangled together. Middle, so that's neck. And there's the bridge. Jeez, it's not easy. Nothing about this guitar is easy. That's not a put down to the original, but let's just say I haven't made much money on this project. And that's not a put down to the guy who did this, or to Joe either. It's been a fun project. I've learnt a lot. I've done a lot of different varied tasks and tried to do a lot of different workarounds. So in that sense it's been quite a pleasure to work on. But in another way it's been sort of like, oh my god, I need to finish this like really soon, because I'm running out of money, and you know, time is money, especially in this city. So I've got to go through the box and find out all of the parts and what their respective purposes are, especially the screws, which in this case is not that fun, because the guy used an array of different screws to put this together. The pick guard screws look like other screws, you know, so on and so forth. You don't know really what's what. So whenever you're doing something like this, definitely keep everything in a box, but maybe sort it out and organise it off camera if you're ever going to do one of these walkthrough videos, because it's probably not the most interesting thing. Okay, as I'm finding things, I'm just going to add them into the guitar. Like the pickups, the strap buttons, screws, and the strap buttons. Let's do that. because we just found them, so let's get them out of the way. I was thinking I'd go straight into this video and do putting back the tuners, but just thought let's go for the pickups and the pick guard, because even though it's more taxing and tiring and obviously not as